Leo stood at the center of the grand hall, his hands by his sides and his eyes scanning the towering walls of shining crystal. He had never seen a place like this. The walls glowed softly with blue light, and the air smelled like fresh rain. Strange music played from somewhere unseen, and guards in silver armor stood silently on both sides of the room. He was on the alien world Velmora. Only 2 weeks ago, he had been living a normal life on Earth. Then the message came. Earth and Velmora had signed a peace agreement. To build a bond between both worlds, the Queen of Velmora had requested one human to live in the royal palace. Leo was chosen. He didn't know why they picked him. He was not a scientist or a soldier. He had no special skills. He was just a young man with a calm heart and a curious mind. But here he was, standing in front of the Queen of Velmora herself. Queen. Rilana sat on a floating throne made of white crystal. Her face was calm and proud. She wore long green robes and her eyes were like shining mirrors. Her voice was smooth and strong as she spoke. You are Leo from Earth. We welcome you to Velmora. You will stay here in our palace as a guest of peace. During your time here, you will live with my daughter, Princess Mira. Leo nodded politely. He had read about Mira before the trip. She was known to be quiet and shy, very different from her mother. Most people on Earth had never seen her face. Only a few images existed, and none of them showed her clearly. I understand, Leo said. I will respect your customs and follow your rules. The Queen gave a short nod. Good. This is not just about peace. It is about learning. You will learn our ways, and she will learn yours. That is all. A door behind the throne opened, and a young girl stepped forward. She had soft silver skin and dark purple hair tied behind her head. Her eyes were wide and clear, like the sky just before nightfall. She was wearing a simple white dress with a thin silver belt. She looked about Leo's age. This is my daughter, Mira, the Queen said. Mira walked slowly toward Leo. She stood in front of him, her hands folded in front of her. She looked at him but didn't speak. Leo gave a small smile. Hello? I'm Leo. Mira nodded once, then turned and walked toward another hallway. The Queen motioned with her hand. You will follow her. She will show you your room. Leo followed Mira without speaking. The hallway was long and curved, lined with small glowing stones in the walls. They passed floating plants and clear doors that showed views of hanging gardens outside. After a few minutes, Mira stopped in front of a round door. It opened without sound, revealing a clean room with soft lights, a low bed, and a table made from some kind of smooth glass. This is your space, Mira said. Her voice was quiet, almost like a whisper. Thank you, Leo replied. He looked around the room. It's beautiful. Mira didn't answer. She stood still for a few seconds, then said, You may rest. The palace has many rules. I will explain tomorrow. With that, she turned and walked away. Leo sat on the bed. It was softer than anything he had ever felt. The room was warm and calm, but his thoughts were busy. Why had the Queen picked him? What did she expect to happen between him and her daughter? Mira seemed polite but distant. The next morning, Mira came to his room again. She stood by the door and spoke calmly. Today I will show you the garden and the learning room. Leo nodded and followed her through more halls. As they walked, he tried to make conversation. I've never seen a palace like this before. Everything glows here. It is built from lightstone, Mira said. It stores energy from the sun. They entered a large garden filled with floating trees and blue flowers. The ground was soft like moss, and the air felt fresh. "Do you come here often?" Leo asked. Mira looked at a tall tree with glowing leaves. "Yes, I like quiet places." Leo smiled. "Me too." They walked slowly through the garden. Mira didn't say much, but Leo noticed she walked closer to him than before. She showed him a pool that reflected the stars even in daytime. She showed him a vine that sang when touched. After the garden, they went to the learning room. It had floating screens and chairs that moved on their own. Mira showed him how to use the learning crystal. It played images and sounds from Velmarin history. That night, Leo returned to his room and sat near the window. Outside, the sky was deep purple with 3 moons. He thought about Mira. She was different from anyone he had met. She seemed quiet but thoughtful. Maybe she was lonely, like him. In the days that followed, Mira and Leo spent more time together. They didn't talk much at first, but slowly, things changed. She started asking him questions about Earth. He told her about forests, snow, and music. She listened carefully, and sometimes she smiled. The queen watched from her throne. She saw the 2 of them walking in the garden, eating together in the sunroom, and sitting near the learning pool. She nodded to herself, thinking all was going according to her plan. But what she didn't see was something simple and real growing between them. Not duty, not a mission, something else, something she hadn't expected. The sun of Velmora rose slowly, filling the sky with soft orange and pink colors. Leo stepped out of his room and found Mira waiting in the hallway. She was standing near the wall, her hands behind her back. Her silver skin caught the morning light, and her eyes looked calm. "Good morning," Leo said. Mira gave a small nod. "Today we visit the Hall of Culture. You will see how Velmarans live. You may ask questions." "I'd like that," Leo replied. They walked side by side through the palace. As always, the halls glowed gently, and floating lights followed them. Leo had started to feel more comfortable here. The strangeness of the place was turning into curiosity. The Hall of Culture was wide and full of images. Moving pictures floated in the air, showing scenes of Velmaran life. There were families eating together, children learning with glowing stones, and large gatherings in floating cities. Mira pointed to one picture. "This is the Sky Feast. We fly with the wind ships and share food in the air." Leo smiled. "That sounds amazing. Humans mostly eat at home or in buildings." Mira moved to another picture. "This is the Mind Link ceremony. 2 people speak without words. Only family can take part." Leo raised his eyebrows. "Without speaking? That's new for me." Mira looked at him. "You speak a lot. Velmarans use fewer words." Leo gave a short laugh. "Yeah, humans talk a lot, even when they don't need to." Mira tilted her head slightly. "I have noticed." They walked to another corner of the hall. Mira stopped in front of a small round table. On it sat 5 smooth stones, each one glowing with a different color. "These are stones of memory. When you touch one, it shows you a story from long ago." Leo picked up the blue one. A small image appeared in the air above it. It showed a child Velmoran walking through a rainforest, learning to sing with birds. "This is beautiful," Leo said. "Do all Velmarans use these to learn?" "Yes. We learn with sound and vision. no books. Leo smiled. Earth still uses books in schools with chairs and chalk? Mira looked curious. What is chalk? Leo laughed. I'll show you later. You'll like it. As the day passed, they shared more about their worlds. Mira showed Leo how to move objects with a special energy crystal. Leo showed her how to make a paper bird from a thin sheet he brought from Earth. Mira watched his fingers carefully, then made one herself. It's not perfect, she said, looking at her paper bird. It's better than mine, Leo replied, with a smile. Mira looked down for a moment, then smiled a little. After lunch, they sat in the sunroom. It had wide glass walls and soft chairs shaped like clouds. Outside, floating flowers moved slowly in the wind. Do you miss Earth? Mira asked. Leo thought for a moment. A little. I miss the sky at night. I miss the smell of trees after rain. And my sister. She's younger than me. We used to eat ice cream together. Mira looked at him with interest. Ice cream? A cold, sweet treat. Very tasty. Mira looked thoughtful. We have frozen fruit, but I've never tasted Earth food. I'll ask the chef if we can make some, Leo said. I think you'd like it. Mira was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, Why were you chosen? Leo shook his head. I don't really know. I'm not a leader or a fighter. Maybe they picked me because I like to listen. Mira looked at him with soft eyes. That is rare here. They sat in silence for a while, watching the wind carry petals across the garden. Leo felt peaceful, more than he had in weeks. Mira seemed relaxed, too. She leaned back and closed her eyes for a moment. Later that evening, the Queen called Mira to her private chamber. The walls were dark silver and the floor was covered in soft glowing vines. You are spending time with the human, Queen Rilana said. Yes, Mother, Mira replied. Is he learning? Yes. He asks good questions. He listens. The Queen looked at her daughter closely. Do you enjoy his company? Mira did not answer right away. She looked at the floor, then said, He is different from others. He sees things in a simple way. It feels easy to be around him. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Remember why he is here. This is for learning, not for closeness. Mira gave a small nod. Yes, Mother. The Queen said nothing more, but her thoughts were troubled. She had chosen Leo because he seemed harmless. She had hoped Mira would teach him, and nothing more would happen. But now she began to wonder. That night, Leo sat near his window again. He looked up at the stars. Velmora's moons were full and bright. He thought about Mira's quiet voice, her gentle hands as she folded the paper bird, and her honest questions. She was different from anyone he had ever met. Not just because she was from another world, but because she made silence feel full. He didn't need to speak too much. He didn't need to impress her. He just had to be himself. Somewhere across the palace, Mira stood at her own window. She watched the stars, too. In her hand, she held the paper bird Leo gave her. It was simple, fragile, and perfect. The wind moved gently outside. Neither of them spoke, but in their silence, something new was beginning to grow. It was still small and quiet, but it was real, and it was something the Queen had not planned. The palace gardens stretched far beyond the walls, filled with strange plants and soft colors that danced in the sunlight. Most visitors never saw the deepest parts. Only the royal family was allowed to walk where the oldest trees grew. These places were quiet and sacred. One morning, Mira came to Leo's room early. She wore a light blue robe, and her hair was tied with a silver thread. "Come with me," she said. Leo rubbed his eyes. "Where are we going?" "I want to show you something special. But we must go before others wake." He followed her through the quiet halls. The guards did not stop them. Mira walked with calm steps, and Leo stayed close. They passed through a hidden door at the back of the garden wall. It led to a narrow path, lined with tall purple grass. "Is this a secret place?" Leo asked. "Yes," Mira said. "Only my mother and I come here. She hasn't visited in many seasons." The air was cooler here. Strange birds flew low, and small lights floated among the leaves. The path curved gently, leading to a wide circle of trees. In the center stood a tall tree with silver bark and glowing blue leaves. Its roots twisted across the ground like smooth ropes. "This is the heart tree," Mira said softly. "It connects to memory and emotion." Leo stepped closer. The tree pulsed with a soft blue light, like a slow heartbeat. Mira touched the bark gently. "When I was young, I came here to think. The tree shares feelings with those who touch it. Only those with open hearts can hear it." Leo reached out and placed his hand on the bark. For a moment, he felt warmth spread through his chest. A strange calm filled his thoughts. Then he felt something more. A memory that wasn't his. A feeling of quiet sadness. He stepped back. "I felt something. Was that from the tree?" Mira nodded. "It shows what is hidden. I often come here when I feel alone." Leo looked at her. "Do you feel that way now?" Mira lowered her eyes. "Sometimes. Being the queen's daughter is not easy. People always expect something from me, but they don't really know me." Leo sat on a low root and looked up at the glowing leaves. "I understand. Back on Earth, I felt the same. I didn't fit in anywhere. I always listened to others, but never spoke much." "I think that's why they sent me here." Mira sat beside him. "I'm glad they did." Leo smiled. "Me too." For a long time, they sat in silence. The tree swayed gently, though there was no wind. The light from its leaves shimmered across their faces. Leo noticed that Mira looked more peaceful here, like she was finally at ease. "Have you shown this place to anyone else?" he asked. "No, only you." "Why me?" Mira paused before answering. "Because you listen. You don't push or pretend. When I talk to you, I don't feel judged. That is rare here." Leo looked down at the ground. "Thank you. That means a lot." Suddenly, the leaves of the tree pulsed brighter for a few seconds, then returned to their soft glow. Mira noticed. "The tree feels it too," she said. "Feels what?" "That something between us is growing." Leo didn't answer right away. He didn't know what to say. But deep down, he knew she was right. Since they met, something quiet but strong had started forming between them. It was not forced. It was not planned. It just was. Before they left, Mira picked up a small leaf that had fallen from the tree. She placed it in Leo's hand. "Keep this," she said. "It will remind you of this moment." Leo held it carefully. The leaf was light as air, but it glowed with a soft warmth. They walked back to the palace without speaking much. The silence between them was not empty. It was full of meaning. That evening, the queen stood on her balcony, looking out at the garden. She had seen Leo and Mira return through the back gate. Her eyes narrowed with thought. She called one of her advisors. "Where did they go today?" she asked. "They visited the far garden," the advisor replied. "They were gone for several hours." The queen said nothing for a while. Then she gave a quiet command. "Keep watch, but do not be seen." She turned and walked back into the palace. Her heart felt uneasy. She had hoped for learning, friendship, and peace, but she had not planned for something deeper. She wondered if this bond would cause trouble or bring something better than she imagined. That night, Leo placed the glowing leaf in a small glass bowl near his bed. Its light made soft patterns on the wall. He lay down, thinking about the tree, the garden, and Mira's eyes when she said he listened. Mira, in her own room, sat near her window with the paper bird he had given her. She held it gently and watched the stars. She thought about Leo's quiet voice, his kind words, and the calm way he walked beside her in the forest. They were from different worlds, different lives, and different stories, but something inside them was the same, and that small shared part was now starting to grow. The palace was busy with color and movement. Soft music played in the air, and flowers floated above the garden paths. Servants moved quickly, placing glowing lanterns around the courtyard. It was the start of the Festival of Unity, a special day to celebrate the friendship between Velmora and Earth. For the first time, humans were invited to take part in Velmoran traditions. The queen wanted this festival to show peace and harmony, but in her heart, she still watched her daughter closely. Leo stood near the fountain, dressed in a long, dark robe given to him by Mira. Silver threads ran across the fabric, showing the symbol of two stars joined together. Mira walked toward him wearing a shining blue dress. Her hair was braided with small white stones, and a soft light glowed from her necklace. She stopped in front of him and gave a small smile. "You look ready," she said. "I feel like I'm in a dream," Leo answered. "Everything here is glowing." Mira touched the edge of his sleeve. "That means the festival is working." The queen appeared on the high balcony, her voice clear and strong. "Let this day begin with trust. Let both our worlds walk together in peace." The guests clapped with open hands, a sign of joy in Velmoran culture. Music filled the air, and the dance of pairs was announced. Leo looked at Mira. "Should we try it?" Mira gave a nod. "Follow my steps. You'll learn quickly." They moved to the center of the open court. The ground lit up as they walked. The other guests made space, watching with quiet interest. Human and Velmoran dancers joined around them. The dance began slowly. Mira stepped forward and Leo followed. They turned, moved side to side, and raised their hands toward the sky. Leo missed a step, but Mira smiled and helped him back into rhythm. Soon they moved together with ease. Their hands met, and their steps matched. It was not perfect, but it was graceful. People began to notice their quiet connection. Some whispered, some smiled. When the dance ended, Mira and Leo stood still for a moment. The music faded, but the silence that followed was full of meaning. "You did well," Mira said softly. "I had a good teacher," Leo replied. As they walked back to the garden, A few Velmoran elders stopped them. The dance was simple, but true, said one elder. Truth is stronger than skill. Mira bowed her head. Thank you. Later, they sat in a quiet corner of the garden, where hanging lights floated above them like stars. Mira poured a cool drink into a clear cup and gave it to Leo. This is sun fruit water, she said. It helps calm the heart. Leo took a sip and looked around. Everything tonight feels different, like the palace is alive. Mira nodded. Velmarans believe music and light bring the past and future closer. Leo looked at her. Do you believe that? She thought for a moment. I believe something is happening. Between us. It's quiet, but I feel it. Leo felt his heartbeat rise. I feel it too. Before they could speak more, a soft voice called Mira's name. It was one of the royal guards. Your mother requests your presence, he said. Mira looked at Leo. Wait here. I'll return soon. She followed the guard through the garden while Leo sat alone. He looked up at the lights above him. He remembered her words. Something is happening. Inside the palace, Queen Rilana stood in her private chamber. She looked out at the festival lights as Mira entered. You danced with him, the queen said. Yes, Mira replied. And you did it with feeling. Mira stayed silent. The queen turned around. This was meant to be a gesture of peace, not something more. You are my daughter. Your path is not yours alone. Mira spoke slowly. I know my place, but he is not like others. He does not try to impress. He listens. He cares. The queen's voice was firm. He is human. He will leave when the agreement ends. Mira looked at her mother with steady eyes. Maybe. But while he is here, I choose to know him. The queen said nothing more. She turned back toward the window. Mira left the chamber and returned to the garden. She found Leo where she had left him. Everything all right? He asked. Mira nodded. My mother is thinking too much. Leo gave a small smile. Parents are the same on every planet. They walked through the garden, passing quiet pools and glowing stones. Mira reached out and took Leo's hand. He looked at her, surprised but calm. I want to show you the sky terrace, she said. They climbed the spiral stairs at the edge of the palace. At the top was a flat space with a clear view of the night sky. 3 moons hung above, and stars stretched across the dark blue. This is my favorite place, Mira said. When I was young, I came here to dream. They sat on the smooth floor side by side. What did you dream about? Leo asked. Freedom, peace, and someone who sees me for who I really am. Leo looked at her. I think you found all 3. Mira turned to him. Her eyes reflected the moonlight. Maybe I have. They sat in silence again, watching the sky. No promises were made, no words were needed. But something between them had changed. It was no longer a quiet bond. It was becoming something stronger, and though the queen did not plan for this, the stars above seemed to approve. The morning after the festival, the palace felt calm and quiet. The music had stopped, the lanterns had dimmed, and the garden paths were empty. But inside Queen Rilana's chamber, thoughts moved like strong winds. She stood near the long window watching the garden below. Her daughter, Mira, walked slowly beside Leo. They were speaking in low voices, both smiling. There was no space between them now. Their steps matched. Their eyes met often. The queen turned away and called for her guard. "Bring the human to me," she said. Moments later, Leo stood before the queen once again. He bowed politely, waiting for her to speak. "Sit," she said. Leo sat in the round chair across from her. The room was quiet, except for the sound of water running through the crystal walls. "I hope you enjoyed the festival," the queen began. "I did," Leo replied. "It was beautiful. Thank you for allowing me to take part." The queen studied his face. "And my daughter. Do you enjoy her company as well?" Leo paused. He knew this question carried weight. He chose his words carefully. "She has been very kind. I feel lucky to know her." The queen looked at him for a long moment. "She is a princess. One day she may lead our people. She must walk a careful path. Feelings can make that path unclear." Leo nodded slowly. "I understand. I respect her. I didn't come here to cause trouble." "I believe that," the queen said. "But what begins as friendship can change, sometimes without warning." Leo looked down for a moment, then met her eyes. "Sometimes change is not a bad thing." The queen didn't reply right away. Then she stood and walked to the window again. "You may go," she said at last. Leo stood, bowed, and left the room. His steps were steady, but his thoughts were not. He returned to his room and sat near the small bowl that held the glowing leaf from the heart tree. The soft light reminded him of the garden, of Mira's voice, and of their time on the sky terrace. He wondered what the queen truly wanted. Did she see him as a guest or a threat? Did she fear what was growing between him and Mira? Or did she simply not understand it? Meanwhile, Mira sat alone in the royal library. She looked through old records about Earth and its history. She read stories of peace, war, friendship, and love. Velmarans rarely spoke of love the way humans did. Their culture was quiet and careful, but humans were open with their hearts. She thought about Leo's laugh, his soft words, and his warm eyes. He had not tried to win her. He had not tried to impress her. He had only listened, shared, and stood beside her without asking for anything in return. She closed the book and stood up. She walked straight to her mother's chamber. Queen Rilana looked surprised to see her. "Mira," she said, "you usually send a message before visiting." "I came to speak directly," Mira replied. The queen motioned for her to sit, but Mira remained standing. "I know you spoke to Leo," she said. "I know you're worried." The queen folded her hands. "You are my daughter. I must think of your future." "I know," Mira said, "but I'm not a child anymore. I understand duty. I understand tradition. But I also understand what my heart feels." The queen said nothing, so Mira continued. "He is not like others. He is calm, patient, and honest. He doesn't try to change me. He simply walks beside me." "You are the heir to the throne," the queen said. "You cannot let emotion lead you." "This is not just emotion," Mira replied. "It's something stronger. It's something real." The queen stood and walked to her daughter. For a moment, she looked at her not as a ruler, but as a mother. "Are you sure?" she asked. Mira nodded. "I am." The queen did not answer. She simply touched Mira's hand, then turned back to her seat. That evening, Mira found Leo sitting near the star pool, a quiet place where the water reflected the sky. He looked up as she approached. "Did you speak to her?" "Yes," Mira said. I told her how I feel. Leo's voice was gentle. And what did she say? She didn't try to stop me, Mira replied. That means something. Leo looked at her for a long moment. So what happens now? Mira sat beside him. Now we continue walking together step by step. They sat in silence, watching the stars move slowly above. A soft wind passed through the garden, carrying the scent of blooming light flowers. Neither of them spoke more that night, but both felt lighter. The path ahead was still unknown, but they had made a choice. And far above, in her quiet chamber, the Queen stood at her window once more. She had not expected this. She had planned for peace, not connection. She had opened the door for learning, not love. Yet love had come, quiet and strong, and it would not be turned away. The palace hummed with quiet tension. The sun had not yet risen when a sudden alarm echoed through the halls. A power crystal in the palace's energy core was weakening. Without its strength, the palace could lose power and life support. The royal engineers rushed to the core room, their faces tight with worry. Leo, who was in the garden with Mira, heard the alarm. He looked at her, eyes wide. We must go, Mira said quickly. They ran through the halls, joining the crowd near the crystal chamber. The glowing crystal flickered, its light uneven and fading. This is bad, an engineer said. If it breaks, the palace systems will fail. Leo stepped forward. Is there anything I can do? The lead engineer looked at Leo. We need to stabilize the energy flow. It is dangerous, but a strong mind and calm heart may help. Leo nodded. He had learned a little about the energy crystals from Mira. He remembered how she used her hands to guide the light. Now he stepped closer to the crystal, placing his hands near it. At first, nothing happened, but slowly, Leo felt a warm energy inside him. He focused on calm thoughts, the garden, Mira's smile, the quiet moments they shared. The crystals. Flicker steadied. Its light grew stronger, steadying like a heartbeat. The engineers cheered softly. Mira watched with wide eyes. She reached out and held Leo's hand. You did it? She said. Leo smiled, tired but happy. We did it. Later, in the Queen's chamber, the news was shared. The Queen sat quietly, thinking. She had seen Leo risk himself for the palace and her daughter. His calm and bravery surprised her. That evening, Mira and Leo sat in the palace garden. The stars hung bright above them, and the air was cool. Why did you help? Mira asked. Leo looked at her. Because it matters. Because you matter. Mira smiled. I never thought a human could be so brave. Leo laughed softly. I'm just a man trying to do what is right. She took his hand again, holding it gently. You are more than that. Their bond had grown stronger through the challenge. The Queen had watched silently from a distance. She no longer saw Leo as just a visitor. She saw a young man with courage and a pure heart. The palace had been a place of rules and order, but now it was a place of new possibilities. The Queen began to understand that peace was more than just agreements on paper. It was built in moments like these. Trust, bravery, and kindness. Mira rested her head on Leo's shoulder. They watched the stars, dreaming of a future where they could be together freely. For the first time, the Queen smiled softly, letting go of fear and opening her heart to hope. The day had come for the Queen to make her decision. The grand hall was filled with Velmoran nobles and Earth diplomats. The walls shimmered with light, and the air was calm but full of expectation. Leo stood quietly beside Mira. Both were dressed simply, but their presence was strong and clear. The queen sat on her throne, her eyes fixed on her daughter. "My people," the queen began, her voice steady, "we gather today to mark a new beginning. Our agreement with Earth is more than a promise. It is a bond between two worlds." She paused and looked at Mira and Leo. "When I first chose Leo to come here, I thought this would be a learning journey, a way to teach and to share. But something unexpected has grown between them. A bond not of duty, but of choice." Mira stepped forward. Her voice was calm and sure. "I stand here not only as the Queen's daughter, but as a person with my own heart. Leo and I have chosen to walk together, not because it is easy, but because it is true." The room was silent. The Queen nodded slowly. "You have my blessing." Whispers of surprise spread through the crowd, but no one spoke against the Queen's words. After the ceremony, Leo and Mira walked through the palace gardens hand in hand. The sun was setting, painting the sky with orange and purple. Flowers glowed softly in the twilight. Mira looked at Leo. "Thank you for believing in us." Leo smiled. "Thank you for trusting me." They spoke of their plans. Together they would work to build better ties between Earth and Velmora, not just through agreements, but through understanding and shared lives. The Queen watched them from a distance. She felt a deep pride and hope. Her daughter was growing into a leader not just of her people, but of two worlds. As night fell, the 3 moons rose, shining brightly above the palace. They were a sign of change and new beginnings. Leo and Mira knew the path ahead would have challenges, but they also knew they would face them together. Their story was not just about 2 people. It was about unity, trust, and the power of the heart. And so, a new chapter began. For Leo, for Mira, for Velmora, and for Earth.